Thank you, Richard. It's delightful to be with you again this morning. So thank you for inviting me back onto the show. Here's a bit of Friday trivia for you. What do killer whales and pilot whales have in common with Homo sapiens? Well, they're the only mammalian species to go through menopause. October is menopause month, so it seemed only fitting that we use this very short time to sift some facts from fiction on this issue, which finally is gaining traction in the workplace. Because after all, menopause is an inevitability for 50% of the working population. But please don't switch off at this point if you have a Y chromosome, because at some point, a woman in your life, whether she be a friend, mother, sister, partner, or a colleague, will be in menopause transition, and immensely grateful for your understanding and support. So I want to bust a few myths this morning. The first is that the face of menopause is not always obvious. Yes, the average age of menopause in the UK at the moment is 51. And it's true to say that the majority of women will go through menopause between their mid-40s and their mid-50s. However, 1% of women will go through menopause under the age of 40. And 1 in 1,000 women go through menopause under the age of 30. And for other women, surgery or cancer treatment means that they hit menopause much, much earlier. So wipe that image of a grey-haired woman looking like she's just got out of the swimming pool, fanning herself, right out of your mind now, because we can't afford to make assumptions. The second is just remember your own adolescence, when your own hormones were wreaking havoc, to try to emphasize with this phase of a woman's life, which honestly feels like reverse puberty. Menopause comes from the Latin, menos is month, pausos is ending. And whilst it's a natural part of the aging process for a woman, as the ovaries run out of eggs, the monthly cycles sputter a bit and then eventually stop, a woman finds herself riding this estrogen roller coaster, and it's not a pleasant ride. My local airport is Leeds Bradford, and it has that nail-biting combination of a shorter than average runway and being on the top of a hill. And as we know, the weather's always grim up north. So it's always a bumpy landing, and very much like menopause transition, in which a woman's estrogen levels, yes, they are on a downward trajectory, but it's very much a sawtooth, up and down fluctuation, day to day, moment to moment. The problem is we don't just have estrogen receptors in the obvious places in a woman's body, we have them in our brain. We have them inside our brain's short-term memory area, the hippocampus. We have them in our brain's thermostat area. We have them in our sleep centers and our mood brain centers as well. So for women in work, this is a really tricky time. The third myth, if you like, is that you don't go through the menopause. Women don't go through the menopause. Once estrogen has left the building, it's a permanent state of affairs for that woman. Estrogen and actually testosterone levels don't suddenly make a comeback a few years later. Women go on to spend a third of their lives potentially in this post-menopausal hormone depleted state. The next myth is that HRT is dangerous. Hormone replacement therapy is dangerous. No, it's not. It's the most effective treatment for menopause symptoms. We're simply adding back the hormones that are lacking. Sadly, it's had a scandalous bad rep over the years, thanks to the media, who have never been able to understand the difference between relative and absolute risk. So for the majority of women, hormone replacement therapy started within 10 years of the menopause is not only safe and effective for symptoms, but it has many benefits for bones, for brain protection against dementia, and heart protection. And finally, menopause is not just an individual issue. It is a critical organisational and an I&D issue. And thanks to the Equality Act, and because menopause symptoms unfortunately go on for several years, menopause is covered not just by age and sex, but also by disability under the protected characteristics of the Act. And so businesses really can't afford to have a discrimination case brought because they failed to make reasonable adjustments. The compensation figures are eye-watering, believe me. So today, as Carolyn Harris brings her private members bill on menopause, let's commit to support and do everything we can to keep this valuable asset that is menopausal women in the workplace. Thank you very much for listening.